Hi, everybody. I'm Peggy Aoki for Feast Cooking, and tonight we're going to make 3 festive cocktails for the holidays. Eggnog Jello shots. We'll make a citrus and pomegranate mule, and then we're going to finish it all off with everybody's favorite, the Espresso Martini. And I've got all my own unique tips and tricks for you for these drinks. I hope you're really going to enjoy them. So the first step that I want you to take when we make an eggnog Jello shot, or actually any Jello shot at all, you really want to soften the gelatin in the liquid before you heat the liquid up. That makes a huge difference. That way you don't get little clumps of gelatin that hardens when the liquid gets warm. So I have already taken the liberty of sprinkling my gelatin across the top of my eggnog here. You can see it's kind of mixed in there. So this is what that looks like. It's the Knox gelatin packet. So for every 2 cups of liquid, you want to have 1 packet of gelatin. And you'll know that that's ready to go when you sort of push it down there and it dissolves in. So I want to have that dissolve into the liquid before I heat it up. Really key step. So 1 packet of gelatin will make a Jello shot texture for 2 cups of liquid. No, I got that wrong. That's for each 1 cup, you want 1 packet of gelatin. So in my container here, I've got in my pot, I've got 1 cup of eggnog. And to that, we're going to add 1 cup of bourbon. So it's going to be a nice, strong shot. And as soon as I stir this up and I feel like that gelatin that I've pre-softened is really dissolved, I'm just going to put this on the stove. I might have better luck here with my whisk. Just whisk it up and make sure it's all dissolved. So you really want to make sure that these little lumps are not present before you heat it up, because otherwise what you'll have is cooked lumps. And nobody likes a lumpy shot, right? Okay, there we go. This is going to go on the stove just to warm it up. That will actually melt the gelatin and make it part of the eggnog. And then we'll pour it into some little cups. You could use some silicone molds, but here's how I really love to serve these. And I'll show you, I've got some made up in advance. So I have some little espresso cups. So I made a little bit in advance, and you can see that this is nice and gelatinized. A little spoon here. So I've got my Jello shot. That's how I could eat it. And I like to serve them this way. I'm going to kind of pack that back in there. I've got a little bit of whipped cream that I'm going to put in. And then maybe I'll top it with a cookie. So I've got these really cute little stars from Trader Joe's. A little tiny gingerbread person would also be cute on there. So maybe I'll put one in here with the chocolate, and then I'll do another one with the gingerbread guy. And then if you want to make these even a little more fancy, sprinkling a little bit of cinnamon or maybe some nutmeg. So I have a whole nutmeg that I really like that I prefer to use. Oh, and my eggnog, not my eggplant. My eggnog is simmering back there, so I turned it off. Just grate a little bit of fresh nutmeg. There you go. So you can make these up in advance and have them ready for a party. They're a really great end of meal delicious shot. So great way to end. Let's just try it. I've got these little demi-tasse spoons that are fun to serve along with, like so. So all set. Let's just, we got to try it. You are not going to miss that there's booze in that. So I've got one. I prefer bourbon in my eggnog. You could use rum, bourbon, or also brandy is really nice. Pretty good, if I do say so myself. All right. So just in that moment while I got those ready to show you, this heated up plenty. And I'll just come back to this for 1 second and show you that now that the eggnog has simmered, everything is completely mixed in there. So I've got this cup of bourbon. And now the easiest way to get these into your cups is to use a measuring cup like this one. So just pouring it over into a pitcher that has a bit of a lip on it like this will make your life much easier. And these take about 3 hours in the fridge. You can see that little dark speck. I put some vanilla bean in my bourbon for this. So, why not? Why not be a little extra? I like to be the person who's extra. So 2 cups is 16 ounces. These cups hold about 3 ounces. So you can figure how many you need for your party. It's a really cute way to serve them. All right, well, on to the mule. I love a mule because I love ginger. Ginger is one of my favorite flavors. And there is nothing more festive than a cute copper mug. These are not hard to find these days, but you certainly don't have to serve a mule in a mug. You can serve it in any kind of glass that you like. So I've got some ice here ready to go. But first, what I'm going to do, rather than shake this up, because I like my mules a little spicy. Let's see, let me grab my garnishes for that. I have here some citrus, some pomegranate for garnish that I'm going to use, but I've got some jalapeno. So I'm going to put a couple slices of jalapeno into my mug. And then into the mug, I'm also going to squeeze my lime. I know these look like lemons, but I guarantee you they are limes. They come from my backyard tree, and they are never ripe when they're green. They're really ready when they're yellow. It smells great. And some people will put a little bit of grapefruit or other kind of citrus. I also happen to have a tangerine tree, and I'm always looking for ways to use up my tangerine juice. So I'm going to put a little extra citrus in the form of this tangerine juice in there. If you don't have my citrus squeezer is pretty well used and beaten up. If you don't have a citrus squeezer, I really recommend these. But you can also squeeze them by jamming a fork into the middle of the lemon or lime. That also works. So now inside I've got the juice of 1 lime and 1 other citrus fruit. I'm just going to move that out of the way. I'm going to muddle that up a little bit. So I'm going to use this muddler, but it wouldn't have to be a muddler. You could use I have this long bar spoon, which is kind of fun to stir with. So we'll stir that up. So what I've done in here is I've smashed those jalapenos to get some of the spicy juice of them out. And now I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of pomegranate juice. And give that a good stir. And 2 shots or 2 ounces of vodka. So I have a little measuring jigger that I really like. But, another great way to measure are these OXO, it doesn't have to be OXO brand, but these little measuring cups are great. You can look right down into them and see what you're measuring. So I can see really clearly when I get to 2 ounces. I don't have to be, measuring in the jigger every time. So I'll go with that. Give that a stir. So it's not traditional to shake a drink that is going to have carbonated beverages in it. And so which is why I prefer just to give it a stir. And now, ice. So we'll get that nice and cold. Top that with some ginger beer. And actually, I have ginger ale and not ginger beer, and that's really a format of how it is carbonated. So the ginger ale is artificially carbonated with CO2 like regular soda, but the ginger beer is like a beer. The carbonation comes from the fermentation. So a little stir, and let's just give it a taste and make sure that we like it. That is really nicely balanced. The ginger, the citrus, I get just a little hit of the jalapeno, which I really love. And now I can garnish that with, this slice of orange, which is probably going to fall off, but it looks pretty when I'm serving it. Or I can actually just put that down in the drink so that some of the orange oil from the peel will infuse into the drink as well. A few pomegranate arils on top is really nice. And then maybe a mint sprig, just to make it look a little more festive. So I've got that red and green. So there is my absolutely delicious, festive looking pomegranate citrus mule. Cheers to that. Mm. Ah, that's so good. All right. We should take time to sip our drinks. We could make a little bit of charcuterie to go with each drink, but instead, let's move on to the pièce de résistance, our espresso martini. So combining a little bit of caffeine with the vodka makes it very strong. So, buyer beware there. But this is a drink that you'll want to shake. So we want to make sure, and I filled my container with ice. So I have a shaker here. For home bartending, I really recommend these cobbler shakers. They're a lot easier to handle than the two-piece glass set that you'll see at cocktail bars. You really want to make sure that those are stuck together well. And it's really easy at home to if you're not making them often. So I recommend this format if you have it. You can strain them easily. You don't need an extra strainer. So inside, I already have my ice. And we will start with 2 ounces of vodka. So once again, actually, I'll show you. I'm just going to use my jigger this time. So we'll do 1 ounce and 2 ounces. Now, the purpose of ice in a martini in a shaker is not only to get the drink cold, it's also to add some dilution to the drink, because the spirits really need a little bit of water to make the alcohol taste as good as it can. So don't cheat yourself on the ice and the shaking and the whole thing and thinking, well, I'll just keep this cold and it'll be fine. You really need that. So our recipe calls for 2/3 of an ounce of Kahlua, which is a coffee flavored liqueur. And you can use, there are others that are really good as well, but I happen to actually have the Kahlua. So if you wanted to be super exact, you could use the little measuring cup, but I'm just going to use my jigger. And then last, we're going to have some espresso in there. So I have pre-brewed some espresso so that it's not hot. So I mentioned the dilution and the chilling for the shaking. We don't want to get it that dilute. So you want to either pre-make your espresso, or don't tell anybody. You could also use some instant espresso. And I'm actually kind of a fan of these Starbucks Via. And I'll show you what else I do with this later. So I'm going to pour in my 2/3 of an ounce of espresso. Okay, and now we shake. And the whole purpose of shaking, as I said, is not just to chill, but also dilute. And we want to shake until the outside of the shaker feels frosty and cold. So about 20 seconds. See how I'm getting nice and frosty there? And it's getting very cold on my hand. I can really feel the chill. All right. So, traditionally a martini is then served in a martini glass, but I think the new trend is to look for these coupes, or a tall coupe like this is called a Nick and Nora. I really love the shape of this glass. This is classic. This works really well too. I'm going to put mine in this Nick and Nora tonight. And you can see I pre-chilled my glass because I want my martini to stay really cold. So I put a couple ice cubes and some water in the glass, and it just sat there and waited for me. Now, this could serve 2 purposes. You could pre-hydrate before your espresso if you wanted to, or you can water a plant. I'd probably pre-hydrate. That would be a good idea. So now I've got my nice cold frosty glass. And if I did a good job shaking, I'll have a nice foamy top for my espresso. So let's pour that out. Beautiful. See the foam that's forming? And I paused a little bit, so I lost a little bit of the head of my foam there. But now on top of the foam, it's very traditional. You'll see that people will float 3 coffee beans, espresso beans. And if you've got a nice foam, they will stand on there. And those stand for health, wealth, and happiness, which is a great way to toast everyone. And I'll just show you with my little packet of this instant Via coffee. You could also, if I can find the way to open it here, which could be scissors. If you don't have extra beans, which I know not a lot of people buy whole beans, And I'm not sure I would recommend that you buy, a really nice bean because these are typically not eaten. You could instead dust the top with a little bit of this micro ground coffee like that. So you've got two options here for the garnish. You can float the beans, or you can tap on a little bit of micro ground coffee. You don't want to use the kind of coffee that you grind yourself, but this really finely ground instant coffee. All right. I'm not driving, so I'm okay. I hope you're not driving wherever you are either. It's the beauty of, home cooking, right? Mm. Oh my gosh. I really like this one. I like them all, but this is really nice too. For me, this would be a great pre-dinner drink or after dinner. Yeah. Anyway, I'm really happy that you could tune into this. I hope that you learned a couple things, and we'd love to see you at one of our feast events, either a workshop, or maybe we can come into your kitchen and coach you on recipes. See you soon. Bye-bye.